Hey, book club besties! From Scrubs to Book Club, we're two burnt out healthcare workers who love to yap about books. I'm Katie.
And I'm Star, and welcome to Aimless Attention Podcast.
Today we are covering the last book in the Throne of Glass series, Kingdom of Ash by Sarah J. Maas.
Woo! So ready to be done.
For those of you who maybe just are joining us for this podcast, 2026 is the year of SJM for us. We will be going through, we're finishing Throne of Glass now, then we'll go to Akatar and Crescent City. And of course, we're having to span a little bit further than 2026 because now we have the next Akatar, or the second to next Akatar book will be.
But I'm excited. I can't wait to get back into Akatar.
Yes, it'll be fun. Spoiler warnings for all of Throne of Glass and then especially Akatar and for Crescent City. This is a book that pulls in all three of them, and I have theories and things to talk about. By the time we're at the end of this book, though, we are literally crashing through all three worlds. So
I know.
So yeah, keep in mind for spoiler warnings for that. Star's ready to be done with this series.
Yes.
This is my God tier series. Kingdom of Ash is not my favorite book out of all of them, though. I think Kingdom of Ash is a very hard read.
Yes.
Which I think even Empire of Storms and Tower of Dawn, while you're getting like, now things are getting really bad, there's still a lot of lightness and a lot of fun. This book is war. And unfortunately,
it starts out like where you're just like, why is she? Why? Like the whole time I was listening to it, I was like, Katie, I can't do this again. I was like, I can't. I was like, why? She's only like a baby and she's being tortured.
I know. So we ended Empire of Storms before we went to Tower of Dawn, and we saw Aelin getting kidnapped by Maeve, being put in the iron coffin and the iron shackles with the iron mask, and Karen whipping her before that all happened. So that's when we get introduced to Karen, who will be her torturer, and Maeve, who also will be psychologically torturing her.
I think
more
the
than
psychological
anything.
for her is more fucked up.
Way worse.
I would rather be whipped. I have to be honest. Just take me and give me my 40 slashings. Like, well, I'm just at that point. No.
Well, and Aelin for most of her life has dealt with some sort of physical abuse. Unfortunately, after she's 8 years old and she's no longer living in the palace, like there is some form of torture she is undergoing. Whether
That's
it's Arabin, she's fighting people and getting hurt. She's actively like getting herself into fights to get hurt. Like physical pain is how she processes a lot of emotion as well. Unfortunately, this is not a situation that she would be doing that in. But I remember reading this as a physical copy the first time going, oh my God, she gets out at some point, right? Like I knew this book has to have a happy ending. It's the finale of everything.
Even though I have read it I think 3 times, even though I know I've read it at least twice.
Yeah.
Even when you first start, you're like, when does it get better? When does it get better? Like, even though you know it does, you're still like, hurry up. Mm-hmm. I think it was like probably chapter 20, you finally start to breathe where you're like, oh my God.
There's like 100 and almost 110 chapters or something like that in this book.
But like by 103, you're like, oh my God, this isn't too bad.
We'll get to go through everything. But yeah, it's literally like, I'm just going, oh my God, is she done yet? Is she done yet? Like, it's just continually like, and they're using Gloriella, which comes back. We saw that first in Throne of Glass. And,
I was like, it was in Throne of Glass. Yeah.
We did Throne of Glass first. So we see that first in Throne of Glass, especially when the poison thing goes on. She gets poisoned with Gloriella, and also Gloriella was what took down Sam. And that, I think, is a main through line that we see a lot of parallels with her torture and Sam's torture. And I'll discuss it a little bit later as we get into this book too. There are some things that SJM seeded throughout that if certain things hadn't happened, then she would have met the same end as Sam. So like, it just hurts. So there are 4 POVs basically going into this, 4 different settings that we're in before all of the POVs converge. So we have, of course, Aelin in the coffin with Karen and Maeve and everything, and they're actually in Dornell. We don't know that at the time, but she's been in Dornell. They were taken from the beach in Eelway, and that's where they've been at. This whole torture situation has been going on. Then we have Rowan, Lorcan, Elide, and Gabriel, who have been searching for Aelin. Aelin had made the deal with Lysandra and had asked, and Rowan and her had gotten married at the end of Empire of Storms with the intention that if something were to happen to Aelin, and she had a feeling Maeve was coming for her, that Lysandra would shift into Aelin's body, and then Rowan would essentially lead the court. And then
her babies would come from Aedion, which I don't know how I felt about that. Like,
Okay, this is the only time where I'm going to say I felt bad for Aedion getting put in this situation, because in all reality, he's always wanted to have children with Lysandra. He wants to marry her, all this kind of stuff, right? And he's in love with her. However, not being told this, and I get that this is why Aedion's personality is so irritating. This does not make me not an Aedion hater. I don't end this book liking Aedion at all.
I still like Aedion.
But
poor guy. He's a torture soul.
I can understand being pissed off that you're being told, okay, now you get to not get to have the life you wanted with Lysandra, essentially. They can kind of have this half life, but she's going to have to basically be Aelin all the time, right? So it's not ideal. And being told, yep, and you're going to breed the children, but they're not going to be your children. They're going to be Aelin and Rowan's children. So he's not going to get to have that. It's just, I can understand that that's upsetting. But Rowan basically is we ended Empire Storm's Where Is My Wife, and he's not going to just let it go. He's not going to just leave Aelin to her own devices to figure it out. He's like, this is a plan that I'm not going to let go to fruition at this point. So they're off searching for her. Then we have a bit later on, because we already got all of Tower of Dawn. We don't head back to Chaol and Irene until a little bit later in the book, but there's still outstretches of these POVs. And that'll have Nezrin and Sartak, as well as Bordy and Hussar and all of those guys from the Southern Kingdom are all in that, as well as Falcon Ishar, who is Lysandra's uncle. And then we have the honestly other really hard POV to read is Aedion's POV with Lysandra and stuff, because they are in the depths of this war. They are constantly just in the trenches. It's snowing super hard. Everyone's dying. Like, it's just miserable.
The dying part, like just sitting there watching all of it. Yeah, I can't. None of this I can imagine. Like being.
No.
That's why I'm like, you gotta feel bad for him. Like, poor guy's like, literally seen war since everything crashed when he was 10?
Yeah, something like that. And he was on the battlefield when it was happening.
Yeah.
So yeah, it really opened this book with Aedion's POV as the actual first chapter.
That says Assassin's Whore.
Assassin's Whore.
Isn't that what he called
Otterland's
him?
Whore.
There you go. Damn
Otterland's
it.
Whore.
One of these days I'm going to get one of these books right.
And we actually, I think we opened the book in Aedion's POV with they're still they're on Terrasen soil, but they're putting up a front, and they're I don't think they're in a specific area. They're like near Oakwald Forest, but they're not in a specific. There's a couple battles that happen like at Aniel and at Orinth that are really particular, but they're not in a specific place right now. We know that Aedion is not leading the Bane because Darrow refuses to accept that Aelin is queen, and he also is mad about Aedion supporting all of this. So he ends up getting demoted from leading the Bane. The Sword of Orinth ends up getting taken from him. And so he's now like, not that the Bane doesn't follow his lead. They still are like, Ren's in charge, but Aedion's actually in charge. But still, everything is stripped from him. They're like, and Darrow is leading the charge on, we're not going to accept this. You guys abandoned us all this time ago. And he was the previous king's lover. So he's got a lot of pent up energy about this. Those are kind of our intro POVs. Let's talk about the search party for Aelin first, because I think that has... We're going to be a little bit more generic about in this podcast than we have in the past, because there is so much that happens in this that it's going to be just impossible to go step by step through everything. So let's generically talk around like the plot points that happen. So that's going to be Aelin being held by Cairn, and then eventually getting escaping. And then we'll kind of go from their POVs. Oh, I forgot to mention, there's another, I guess there's 5 POVs in this, because we also have Manon and Dorian who are searching for the Krakens.
I was kind of wondering, but I was like, maybe like
no,
she just was
I forgot about it. So Dorian and Manon are partnered up with the 13, and they are actively seeking out the Krakens to bring them into the war as well, because obviously the Iron Teeth Legions are all with Otterland. So if they can get other witches to fight, then they can have some more armies. Where are our armies, Aelin? Where are our allies? Fucking Aedion. So
this poor guy. He's like 20. He's not even old enough to have like, what is it, 25 is when you become like fully an adult?
I guess. I just
poor
like
child.
I said,
he's still a child.
My issue with Aedion is that I don't think he ever fully moves on to like grow as a human. I think like one bad event happens and he's like, I'm changed now. And I'm like, no, like at least with like I said, going into this series, Crown of Midnight made me a Chaol hater, and I was a Chaol hater until Tower of Dawn. But Tower of Dawn gives us an entire book to appreciate Chaol and him growing into himself and healing from everything that's happened. Adian doesn't get that book. To be fair, Adian doesn't get that book. This could be considered Adian's like healing book, but really he's just a dick through most of it until Lysandra almost dies. Then he's like, wait, I love you, even though I threw you out in the snow and you were naked. And now I'm a better person. It's like, no, Adian.
Maybe he was just a side character that she was like, nobody cares about. The main character is always going to be.
I don't know, man. Let's talk about Aylin's capture first. So she is, again, the iron coffin, the sweet smelling smoke is Gloriel that's been keeping her like quiet and everything. So she, under the irons, is unable to wield her power. And it's like torturous for a Fae to not be able to release that power. We'll find out later on in the book that she's been tunneling into her power that whole time that has no depth. So that's an even bigger thing that she's doing other than just sitting in her power. She's actually been accumulating more of it and more of it. So Karen does a gambit of things. He whips her. He burns her. The fire is the worst thing that he does because that takes her power and uses it against her.
Yeah. I can't even imagine. Remember when I was telling you at work, I was like, I can't fathom that. Like, wouldn't that be horrible? Like, just forever burning and you don't even know how to, like, I don't know.
Yeah.
Because it's not like you're choosing to do it. Like, you are fully being burned. It's a different. And does it actually? Okay. This is the only thing that I struggle with this. Does it actually happen, or was this another one of those, like, because this doesn't actually happen, right? She's being psychologically fucked with.
So she does have times where she's burned. But the last
But they re-heal her, so you don't ever see.
Yeah, so they re-heal her. So he carves into her, he burns her, he whips her. He does, if you can imagine it, he's done it, basically. And the healers come in and
he's a
they
sick
heal
bastard because that was like super sexual for him. Like, if you read the book, you're just like, good God, you're getting your thrills.
Yeah, he really is. And so he does all of that torturing. And the braziers are the last thing that we see of the torturing that's going to happen. So he's pulling the braziers and putting them under her feet and her arms, which are covered in the iron shackles, to heat them up. And that's what is winding up to happen. I think you said you skipped ahead of it because you didn't want to listen to it or something. He doesn't actually end up doing it on page. But we do know before all this happens, so Fenris has been stuck in his wolf form for most of this time. And because Maeve had released Lorcan from the Blood Oath and Gabriel as well. Fenris was still Blood Oath to Maeve and she ended up bringing him back because that was the biggest torture she could have done to Fenris, because she knew Fenris never wanted to be in the Blood Oath in general. It was his twin brother Connell, and Connell's there in his wolf form as well. Vaughn still, who fuck knows where Vaughn is. And then she has that owl that's a healer that's stuck in a healer form always with her as well. So those are kind of the players there. But one of the heartbreaking things that happens with Fenris is that because she can't speak to him, obviously, is that they develop this code through blinks to talk to each other. And it's in like a spare moment they have where he's in his human form and they talk for a couple seconds. So 1 blink is yes, 2 blinks is no, 3 blinks is are you okay, and 4 blinks is I am here, I am with you. And 4 blinks is one of the hardest things to read in this book just because of how much it signifies is you're watching her get tortured and she looks over at Fenris and he's blinking 4 times at her and you're just like, oh my God, this sucks. Like, Maeve does multiple things to torture Aelin. So not only are the scars getting removed, so Aelin has no concept of where she's at in time or what's going on with when her body doesn't feel like her own. Maeve's also going into her mind, and she is, side note, Daemati power, which is very similar to what we see with Rhysand and Akatar and others that have the Daemati power.
To see how this all plays together.
I am interested to see. I feel like the Starborn Fae and like the Rhysand's lineage and the lineage that goes through Crown Prince of the Valvaran Fae. What's his name? Rune. So I feel like Rune and...
I was having a moment. You're talking about Crescent City?
I'm going to
Crescent City not too. In that book. I was like more... I was like naming... I was like Azrael. I was like, none of these are right. I was not in the right book. I was fully... Okay.
No, but I feel like the Night Court Fae...
But isn't Rune also... what's her name's brother? Dude, yes, I am Bryce's. Not the person to ask for names.
So Rune is Bryce's...
I'm like, that character, the main one.
Rune is Bryce's half-brother.
Okay. Yes.
So Rune has the dark power that it very, very much resembles Rhysand. He doesn't speak. Does Rune speak mind to mind now that I'm thinking about it?
I don't think so.
I don't remember. But the Daemati power definitely is some sort of Volg power. And I wonder how much because we do learn in Crescent City that the Asteri had tried to take ACOTAR, the Prithian and everything had tried to infiltrate that land and they'd failed. Like they had fought too hard. And that's what the war that Rhysand talks about too. That had happened way, way earlier. But what amount of Volg come in to this world as well? Because we already have the witches in Throne of Glass that are part Volg. Could some of the Fae in ACOTAR be part Volg? And because there were beings taken from other worlds for Crescent City, Rune's people, the Starborn Fae, could have very well been the same kind of Fae that were bred with the Volg and ACOTAR.
I got you.
I don't know. It's just, my main point is Maeve is going into her mind and fucking with her. So she paints these pictures where Rowan and her get to form this beautiful bond and find out they're mates. And they're like walking through the forest on the green grass together. And it's very not Aelin and Rowan. And it takes her a while to realize, she's like, this isn't how Rowan and I would have ever gotten together. Like, this is not real. So there are times where she starts kind of slipping into it and believing the fantasy.
Well, don't they have like one where she has children and she's like, look at these little blonde-haired babies?
Well, Rowan has a dream about...
it's Rowan's dream. I should not have sped through this one.
Rowan has a dream, especially when they're on the search party to seek her out. So after everything on the beach, Rowan had flung out his power along the mating bond to say, like, I'm coming for you, hang on. And he can still feel a tiny inkling of that mating bond, but it's very suppressed and weakened. That's partially because of the iron. It's partially because of Aelin weakening over time. There is a point where Aelin bangs up against the walls of the iron coffin, and it's after hearing her mother, and she has that conversation with her. And what her mother says, it's the strength of her heart that will push her through everything. And she starts saying, you do not yield, in her head. And she bangs on the top of the iron coffin. And they actually have to reinforce it because she almost breaks out when she does this. And she sends a blast of power along that mating bond as well. But and that will be kind of the key that Rowan will feel that mating bond. And that's what draws him to Dornell. But I wanted to say that Maeve is in her mind. Maeve tells the story of a queen who came from a different world, who convinced two sisters that she was their sister. And it's all vague. And Aelin's just like sitting there like she's with her aunt and she's learning all these stories because she's in this weird fantasy realm. But it makes her later go, is she Volg? Because that sounds Volgy to me. And we do learn...
New adjective, Volgy.
Volgy to me. The only people that know that she's Volg at this point are the people in Tower of Dawn because they haven't had any contact with anybody else. So Chaol and Irene and the Southern Kingdom royals are the only ones who know this at this point. So it's kind of a massive reveal to Aelin to be like, is she Volg? Fenris has to watch Connell kill himself. That's another part of this. And when she ends up sending her thing out, and Rowan will hear that. So there had been an argument between all four of the people who were in the party to look for her about where they should go, if they should go north, south, east, west, basically. And they decide to go to a different city. And Elide is watched over by Aneth, and Aneth is whispering to her, you need to go to Dornell. And she's like, I think we need to do this. And they're like, Maeve would never take her to Dornell.
This is again like Chaol going, no, she would never go there. I just
exactly.
Stop speaking. Just let me do my job. Like,
and Elide and Lorcan have been having a hard time because Elide watched Lorcan. First of all, Lorcan held her back when she was trying to fight, which was him being held by the mating, not the mating bond, the blood oath by Maeve. And then also because he crawled after the people retreating for Maeve's ship. And Elide viewed that as Lorcan is crawling back to Maeve because he had not even like that many chapters before that in Empire Storms had revealed that he'd always been in love with Maeve. And so she sees that and she's like, well, fuck this guy.
I gotta be honest. So the outside looking in is always way more like, you know, the action sometimes you're like, but wait a minute. No. When I read that, I was like, fuck Lorcan. Yeah. Everybody loves Lorcan. And then
Yeah.
Obviously, we know why, but you don't find that out right away. So yeah, no, I definitely was like, get it, girl, beat him.
Girl, I did.
You know how violent I am. Kick his ass.
Elite is one of my favorite characters of all time, just because she's so tiny and she's got her limp and she's got all of these things against her, but she is so strong in who she is and what she wants. And I like that about her a lot, which is also why it's really funny to watch her with Lorcan, because Lorcan is like, I'm a big demi-fae and I get what I want. And it's like, okay.
Like, yeah, but he's like super like puppy dog when he's with her. He's like, I'm sorry.
He is. And it does end up getting revealed that a lead is mad at Lorcan because he was crawling to Maeve. And he's like, I wasn't crawling to Maeve. I was crawling after Aelin. He's like, but I was too weak to stand because the blood oath had just been severed.
I can't even imagine what that would feel like. My body's like, no, thank you.
Or like the mating bonds or anything like that. Like those getting shredded apart. It's like something deep in your chest just breaking. But they do a few things while they're on the road. They end up like interrogating a few different people that were like near Maeve and all this kind of stuff. And then Elite's getting these whispers to go to Dornell, and they're like, no, we're going to go to this place first and then we'll go to Dornell. And then finally that blast of power comes in, and Rowan's like, oh shit, we need to go to Dornell. And Elite's like, you guys. So they race off to Dornell, and then the only way...
I hate to say this, you said race, and my brain's like, Gimpy, I'm coming. My leg's just dragging behind me. I know her leg isn't. This is how I picture it, and I know it's not right, but I genuinely see her running.
Gabrielle is helping her live.
I'm just saying. That's how I picture it every time. That poor girl. I swear if she was a real person, she'd beat me. Because I picture her like taking a step and then her foot dragging and then taking a step and she's trying to run like that. Like...
No,
poor
it's totally
thing.
like...
I would beat me too, though. Like, but that's how my brain like pictures it, as sad as it is. Poor thing. She's gonna hate me.
No, I think
it's a good thing she's not real.
So they end up going to Dornell, and it's rivers separated out, and they're watching everything, and they're like, okay, the only way we're gonna get in there and figure everything out is we need information as to where Cairn is. And so then the plan is to send a lead in, which Lorcan is absolutely pissed off about. He's like, no, thank you, this is not happening.
The love of my life.
Exactly. And Lorcan is pissed, but she's like, fuck you. You don't get to decide what I do. And Rowan's like, we kind of need her to do that. You know, like, my mate is in there. Somebody needs to help her. So Elide goes in and she acts like, oh, poor me. I'm Karen's lover and he left me and I'm trying to find him. He told me to meet him here. And all the Fae are like, dude, you do not want to be involved with Karen. What is your problem? And so she ends up running into one of the like Fae warriors ends up kind of cornering her while she's doing some like recon work. And she's like, I don't know why you're involved with Karen. You do not want to be involved with Karen. And she finds out that woman is actually on their side. I think her name's Eshar or something. Or no, that's Rowan's cousin's name. Anyways, they end up like kind of... she's like, okay, I'm on your side. So then Elide kind of explains everything going on, and she helps them find Karen. So she comes back, they come up with a plan, and that's the time is that Maeve ends up leaving because she hears that there's wordstone collars that are dropped, because she keeps trying to get Aelin. She has a couple goals. She wants Aelin to swear the blood oath, and that's one thing is because she's always had a Fae at her side that can counter the Vogue. So whether that was that healer that she has, because we know healers have that effect on Vogue, or she doesn't know to the extent that they have, but she's always had a healer with her, or she wants fire. She had Brannon with her for a long time when they were fighting that war and they were going to the new continent.
Yeah.
So now she wants Aelin at her side because she could fight off the Vogue with her fire. And number two is because she wants Aelin to tell her where the word keys are. So if she swears the blood oath, then Aelin has to tell her where the word keys are. So those are Maeve's big goals with torturing Aelin here. Maeve hears that there's wordstone collars and she's like, fuck this. This has been way too long of you not actually like bending to my will. I'm going to go get those wordstone collars. And that's the thing that triggers Aelin to be like, I'm done. I'm not going to sit here and put up with this anymore. I'm not getting a wordstone collar put on me. I would rather die. So that's basically the beginnings of Aelin planning her own death at the hands of Cairn. Maeve leaves and they find out that through Elite snooping and everything, that Aelin has been moved to a camp outside of Dornell that's more secure while Maeve is gone. And the people who had actually planted the wordstone collar thing was actually the rescue group that's going to get Aelin. And that is the time where we see Karen is whipping out the braziers. And so
I think I did skip this, but I was. This one just creeps me out. I'm sorry. I don't remember if I skipped it or not, but everything in me is like, you probably did. Because as soon as this scene happens, like my brain's like, nope.
And she's like escaped.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Aelin ends up fighting her way out of this. And Fenris actually breaks the blood oath to attack Karen. And it's a massive thing for that to happen. Fenris is the reason she ends up getting out. She uses like a white hot poker to break her chain so she can run, but she's still covered in iron. She has no power at this point, and she races out. A side note I want to make real quick is that Rowan had been watching everything going on in the camp, and they had a plan for what time everything was going to happen. An hour before that is supposed to happen, he's like, I can't do this anymore. I'm not waiting. And he runs in. And that is a through line that we'll see from Sam. So in Assassin's Blade, it says in the Assassin and the Pirate Lord, it said it was 2 months, 3 days, and about 8 hours later, Captain Rolfe was an hour late. We know that when Sam died, she got to his body an hour late, essentially. His body was already cold. If she had been there an hour earlier, she could have saved him.
Creepy.
Rowan gets there. He gets into the camp. He helps her get out, basically. Lorcan is racing toward Aelin when she's running out of the forest. He's saying, to me. And Elid's watching this, and she's like, oh, he actually cares about her, right? So this is a point where she's like, well, maybe I was wrong a little bit in my assumption on this about Lorcan. She's not totally forgiving him yet, but she's like, okay, maybe this is a sign. Aelin runs out. This is when we get the heartbreaking, like, take it off. Which is just so hard to listen to in the audio. Props to Elizabeth Evans on this. It's hard to read it, but Elizabeth Evans does such a great job on the delivery. She wants all the iron off. Lorcan is there with, and Gavriel and Rowan take off to go because she's like, someone needs to save Fenris. So they run back in. Rowan just absolutely obliterates Cairn. He like ties him down to the thing, skins him alive, all that kind of stuff. He's like, you will pay for my mate.
Yes.
And Gavriel and I don't remember if it's just Gabriel helps get Fenris out. And Fenris, they end up having him swear the blood oath to save his life. And she wills him to live with the blood oath. And that's the only way Fenris lives. And they end up using...
I need people to be like, you must live.
They end up using word marks to open up the locks on everything because they're like, they're gonna have to go to a locksmith, and she's like, I need this off. And it's been 2 months, 3 days, and 7 hours at this point because Rowan left an hour early to get there, and they get all that off with word marks, and she just erupts into flame. And she's not hurting anybody around her, but she just needs to like get some of the edge off of her power, and like her clothes burn off. She's just completely naked, and Fenris is like walking with her, and he ends up walking into the flame and walking with her in it. And that's just part of them like walking through this trauma together. Rowan ends up slipping a cloak to her through the fire, and she just kind of just zones out at this point and is like, we're just going to get out of here and I'll deal with this later, you know? But that's her biggest.
Not how you deal with trauma, but let's go forth.
Aelin's not going to have a time to deal with her trauma at all. And Rowan hates that for her.
I know.
Hates it.
But he's 500 years old and she's 20, so 19.
Rowan didn't deal with his trauma until like 6 months ago with Aelin.
I know. I don't understand these men. 500 years old and you haven't dealt with it one day, and now you're expecting her to be like, get it together.
But that Maeve had confirmed their mating bond together. Rowan was like, I wish you would have told me when you knew that we were mates. And she's like, what was I supposed to say? Like, hey, you had another mate, but maybe I'm your other one, you know? Like, she's like, I knew we were Karanom and I just had to accept that was fine, you know? So they escape, and finally she's out of Karen's clutches, and we don't have to talk about her getting tortured by Karen as in depth anymore. Meanwhile, Adian, Lysandra, and those guys, they're still fighting their battles. They have Ansel of Briarcliff is with them with her armies from the Wastes. Alan Ash River and his army is there. They have the Whitethorn army is there as well, and they have the Silent Assassins. Captain Rolfe has not shown up yet.
Because he's always late. It's just like, I don't know how to be on time.
He will show up when they're on a battle near a river. He will show up with fire lances. So
I know, but he's just like the sun was over on this part of the horizon. I thought I would follow it.
Well, he followed the map on
I
his
know, but I
hand.
feel like he's just like, I show up when I show up.
So the cool thing though is the fire lances are from the Cognate. The Cognate had been building those fire lances. So it's just kind of cool to see like all of these realms are interacting now at this point. Again, they're fighting. Everything's going poorly. We get to see a messenger that we recognize from Throne of Glass. Nox Owen shows up.
I was like, who shows up?
Nox Owen shows up, and there's a battle where, and again, timeline wise, in terms of where we're at with Aylin's escape and everything, I'm not exactly sure. I'm trying to just discuss what happens in each of these POVs before we converge together because there's way too much going on.
Yes.
But what happens is that there is a battle that they're really, it's on this river, I believe. But the Captain Rolf will show up, and Lysandra goes to the front when they're losing because everyone's running away, and she turns into Aelin. Aedian's like, what the fuck are you doing? And this is way later,
like,
actually.
I was wondering, when she's like getting people to be like, the queen is here.
So,
I don't know, like, I did it again.
This is way later. I guess my main point is that they are losing all of these battles.
Yes.
They're getting pushed back and back and back. There is a fight on a river that Captain Rolf will show up, and then he'll kind of join the big band of people that's going on. And they are just continually losing battles. There is a point where Nox Owen comes in, and he's actually Darrow's messenger. And he's like, no shit, this is crazy. I know all these people. Because he runs into Aelin while she's doing her like messenger, or when this is before she goes into battle. It's just when she's showing up to do like her part to show up to War Council. And Nox is like, huh? So you're Aelin, huh? And
I know.
She's like,
I just thought it was great. But, honestly, like, you can only pick up so many mannerisms. Like, if you're smart enough, you can figure out that, like...
Well, and it wasn't that she didn't pick up the mannerisms. Well, partially that. But also Nox is like, you don't know who I am. And I know you would know who I am because we were like buddies in this trial. Like, there's no way you wouldn't know who I am.
That's true. I didn't think about it like that.
And so he made some comment about him being her being Selena Sardathian and being in the trials and everything. And she's like, I don't know what you're talking about. And he's like, okay, you're not Aelin. And also, you're a shapeshifter, aren't you? I just love that throughout this entire series, people just look at Lysandra and they're like, you're a shapeshifter. Like,
I guess, like, okay, so it's kind of cool, like, that she's a shapeshifter, but, like, how the fuck did you know? Like, you know what I mean? Like, I feel like there's only, like, maybe, like, 2% could figure it out, but it feels like everybody figures it out.
It made sense for Rowan because Rowan could smell it. But again, there were, like, other Fae around later that don't notice until she's, like, changing. But
I don't know.
But
maybe because it's his mate, he could smell that it didn't smell right. She smelled Volgy. I don't know. What a weird thought, because the Volg have that smell. I don't know. Now I'm curious. I want to know.
What do shifters smell like? What do Volg?
I don't know. Like, right? Like, I'm over here like, what does she smell like? Does your smell change per like who you shift to? That would be an interesting thought, right? Like, if you shift to a wolf, do you smell like a dog? Just saying.
I will say, in this, because all of the stuff's going on and we're not going to meet them up with anybody until later, let's just finish out their section. So they end up in this battle against the Volg. There's like a second wave of Volg that came in they weren't expecting, and they're getting pushed back. Darrow had told them to go to Orinth, and they'd said, no, we're not doing that. And they had actually sent Nox Owen's like, I'm totally been a rebel this whole time. Like, I am on your side, whatever you want me to do. I won't be Darrow's messenger. So with the help of Ren and Nox and everything like that, they actually move the army. Darrow and those guys are camped, and the old lords are camped there, and they end up managing to silently move the army out of camp there and go where they want to go. They end up in a big battle that causes Lysandra to go to the front and turn into Aelin, and just to get people to come back. And so that they're like, oh my God, the queen's here. And they go to support her. And it's not until the Volg cut her down and Aedian's like racing after her, that he's like, first of all, oh my God, the love of my life's gonna die. Like, bitch, you threw her out in the snow, called her worthless while she was naked.
Oh, poor Aedian. The poor child.
He's such an asshole.
I'm not disagreeing that he doesn't have some growing up to do.
He does have growing up to do. My issue, I don't know.
He just so mean to that poor guy. I feel like she writes characters just so people hate them. Like poor Tamlin was like, everybody's like, hate that fucker. Like I just feel like, and Kale, like that poor guy, like
I know.
you guys are just like, there's poor men that didn't do anything, and she's just over here writing them. You ever think like maybe they're like horrible ex-boyfriends, and she's like, ha 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 ha, while she's writing the page.
She's like, my husband's amazing. Rhysand, Rowan.
Oh my God. Sorry.
Yeah,
poor thing. Like these guys are reading it going, she was talking about me.
I have golden hair. That was me.
God.
I threw her out in the snow when she
Oh
was
my
there.
God. That's why she met the best husband ever. She was like, don't want any of these.
But I think my major issue with Aedion is that I think I love Lysandra so much, and Lysandra's been through, and Aedion's been through shit, don't get me wrong, I understand that, but Lysandra's been through so much shit, and she's chosen to take the path of doing better, rising above it, forming friendships, forming alliances, and whereas Aedion has just been like, everyone keeps talking around me and doing things I don't like, and now I'm mad, and I'm gonna yell at people and say horrible things. And like, I understand that he's been in a bad situation.
I try not to laugh directly into the microphone.
But I just think he doesn't have any growth beyond, oh God, the person I love is almost gonna die. And then he saves her, and she ends up shifting, and people see it happen. And then not only do people feel betrayed now because Aelin didn't actually show up, they've been duped this whole time. And now Darrow's figured it out. And that's when Darrow strips Aedion of all of his titles. He's like, nope. This is not happening. And if she ever shifts again, then we're going to arrest her and kill her, basically. Like, this is not going on. And so that's kind of like their big breaking point, and they end up trudging back to Orinth because they're like, if we would have been at Orinth, which had never, in all the years, had never fallen to a siege, they probably would have been safer. So then they actually end up going to Orinth, and again, Aedion has no power under this, and that's where they're going to go off to. Let's go to Manon and Dorian. It's a Star's favorite.
I'm like the goddess.
They are hunting for the Krakens because we learned in Empire of Storms that she, well, I guess kind of in Queen of Shadows too, is that she is actually a Kraken queen. She's the last living Kraken queen, as well as an heir to the Iron Teeth Witches. So there is a lot of power that she could potentially wave if she can get the Krakens on her side.
I'm telling you, if you need another book idea, just the witches.
Seriously.
Especially with Manon at the top front. That woman makes everybody gay. I don't think I've ever met a soul that hasn't been like, I'm Manon.
I'd be gay for Manon. Yeah, I think that's fair.
So, she wants to do like the 13. She could have her own, what do they call it, novella? She could have a novella about the 13. I think everybody would be reading that.
I would love a novella about the 13. The other thing that is important with Dorian and Manon is that Dorian has the word keys. He's 2 of them.
Oh, it was like
the final one, because remember before when they were on the beach, Aelin had gotten the keys to Manon before everything happened.
My boobs just rubbed it.
But Dorian Manon had been given the keys, which is why she didn't intervene. That's also Elide was mad at Manon for not being involved in that, but she had the keys. She's like, I can't do anything without Maeve figuring out I have the keys.
Yeah.
And so at this point, Dorian's hanging on to them while they're doing this quest. Dorian is dealing with his own kind of battle because we learned in Empire of Storms that an heir of Elena has to give their life for the lock. And he's like, what's the point of my life at this point? Like, Aelin has Rowan. She's got a kingdom to take care of. He's like, I know Otterlin will find a way if I'm not there. So why don't I be the one that does this? But they also need the 3rd word key. So there's a couple goals that they have. Manon needs the Krakens and Dorian needs the last word key. And they are kind of traveling around. They're looking for Krakens with the 13, and they finally come across them. And then in order to show herself off, basically, she ends up luring the Iron Teeth Witch, like a legion of Iron Teeth Witches towards them, and then the 13 fight them off, and then she's like, look at what I did. And then Bronwyn, her cousin's like, I see straight through that bitch. Like, I know what you did. Just because you defended us once doesn't mean that you haven't killed fucking Krakens your entire life, right?
Yeah, but she was just listening to her grandmother.
So they have a few encounters with the Iron Teeth Witches. They'll have that first time. They also will end up running into a Karen Quee. and they can't. It's a Stygian spider at this point. So there's a Stygian
I know.
spider.
I was like, these spiders are scary as fuck, though. I don't know why, but I picture them like, I don't know.
It's so
Picture
creepy.
huge fucking spiders. Like,
Yeah. They're like the size of horses. I think
of like
described.
a car. Like,
Yeah.
seriously, I'm just like, this is so scary. Big old legs.
So they run into Cyrene, and Cyrene is like, you stole my webbing to Manon. Manon's
Yes.
like, hey, what's up, bitch? And they end up keeping her around. And Dorian learns that she has shape-shifting magic because she took 20 years off of someone's life.
Yes.
And this is Falcon, who had 20 years taken off the front of his life when he was making a deal with the Stygian spiders, who was the merchant that Aelin met in
Yes.
Assassin's Blade, who is also Lysandra's uncle. Full literal web of things going on there. And so Dorian starts talking with her, and they keep her around for a while until Dorian eventually kills her and he learns about the magic inside of her and starts practicing how to shapeshift himself, because he has raw magic. So if he can identify magic, he's like, I can just weave my magic to be whatever I need it to be. And so he learns how to shapeshift. He starts kind of like practicing by changing his eye
But
color.
it's like
doing all
the
this
way
stuff.
she explains how to do it is weird. I
Yeah.
remember like it was like, just picture blue eyes, but you can't picture it if you've never seen it. And I was like, okay, but like, can't you though?
I also like,
Because I feel like if your imagination can come up with it, why can't you do it? I don't know. That really bothered me. I remember thinking like, but wait a minute, if you can imagine it, why can't you do it? Like, isn't that the whole point? Like,
the thing about Dorian is that his every third thought is Kaol, basically. He'll be like, I'm going to do it with Manon. I just took her shirt off. Kaol has nipples too. Like,
there was your thruple. You just didn't even know it.
Kaol and Dorian and literally anybody else. It's the thruple.
You didn't know it. You didn't know you needed a thruple, but there's your thruple.
But it's literally like, oh my God. So she's like, just picture different eye color. And he's like, brown eyes, Kaol's eyes.
I know. I thought about it. I was trying not to. I was like, don't do it.
And then he's like, oh, this is going on. The Southern Kingdom, Kaol. And you're just like, dude.
Your thruple.
And listen, like, you go to Kaol's POV and he's like, I'm in love and I'm married and I'm going to have a baby. Oh yeah, my best friend's Dorian, I guess. Like, it's just like Dorian's constantly like, I'm lonely, I'm having sex with a witch all the time, and I don't know what to do, and I might go sacrifice my life. Oh, I love Kaol.
Oh.
Poor Dorian.
And then if Manon would have been like, I love Kaol too, I would have been like, Katie, I'm out. I'm out.
I'm out. Manon and them. So they go through a bunch of stuff that ends up bringing them closer, and the Krakens do eventually accept Manon. She faces off against the 3 Iron Teeth matrons, and that's what ends up tipping the scales onto them being like, yes, we trust you now, and we will follow you into battle. But she and Dorian are sleeping together and everything, and he starts practicing how to
Thinking about
change.
Kale while he's making Manon's like, while he's making her day, he's like, hey, Kale. Sorry. It was the way you said it. My brain was like, I can't resist.
Every third thought is Kale. That's just there were a couple times where it was like, ba-ba-da, Kale, ba-ba-da, Kale. And so anyways, they're getting closer and closer, regardless of how much they say that this is all just physical. It's very much not for the two of them. Dorian says he's going to go to Morath, and she's like, do you have a death wish, you dumb bitch? And he's like, no, well, kind of, but no, I just need to get that last word key. And so he's like, the shifting's how I'm going to get in. So she's like, this is stupid. Like, practice your shifting, whatever. And he's like, ends up riding with different wyverns and stuff because she's mad at him. And he ends up, one of the funny things about Dorian shapeshifting is that he turns himself into a girl. And for a while he's sitting there and he's like, should I go like finger bang myself just to see how this feels?
Why are guys so weird? Why are guys like, what would I do if I had boobs? Like, they're kind of interesting. I don't know. Like, guys always ask me, what do you do with your boobs? Nothing, dude. They're just there. What are you talking about? We're not looking at them going, yeah. We're just like, oh my God, they're hurting my back.
Exactly.
Dude, like, this bra is cutting into my side. Like, nobody's ever, like, genuinely thinking, I'm going to go play with my boobs if I go sit in the mirror. No woman is ever thinking that. They're always thinking, like, God, did you try that bra on the other day? And it was, like, cutting into my right side.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. This is like the conversation with Danielle. What size is your bra size?
What is your bra size? I just thought
I would die. I would die. I don't think they wore bras like that we do now, but oh my God. Could you just picture Kale? I'm a 36B.
Could you imagine if Dorian was like, Kale, I figured out a way for us to be together.
We don't need a throuple no more, baby.
I can be whoever you want.
Oh my God. I didn't even think about it like that. Oh my God. I forgot about that.
But Manon cracks me up because she walks over and she's like, really? She's like, did you go fuck yourself yet? And he's like, I thought about it.
I thought about you, honey. It was you I was thinking about. If I learned how to pleasure you, I can pleasure. If I learned how to pleasure myself, I can pleasure you better. Right? Isn't that what guys think?
Yeah. So they end up going to the Farian Gap. And they are kind of like, oh, the area's like completely empty. This is weird. And they're like, she's like, you can test out your stupid shape shifting and then go to Morath if that's what you're going to do. And he does, and it works.
And she's mad about it because no man's ever supposed to be right.
And that night, one of the nights coming up, they end up in the tent together. And she's like, is there anything I could do to convince you not to go? And this is actually a pretty like intense moment for her to like break down and be like, hey, you actually mean something to me. Be vulnerable. And he's like, no. And she's like, well, what if we got married, basically, is the proposition. Like, what if I'm the queen and everything, and we'll have the Kraken and Iron Teeth alliance firmly in place with Otterlin, and then there's no doubt that we'll, be allies. And he's like, you don't want to get married. And she's like,
every girl secretly does, even the strong-headed ones.
He's like, you would never, ever be happy being tied down to a man. And she's like, no, I wouldn't. And so it was like a moment where you can tell.
No, but you would. She would have been fine.
She would do anything for Dorian, let's
be honest.
But
that's what I'm saying, though. Like, I don't know.
But that's the hard part with it. I think
that's why everybody likes Manon, because she says exactly what everybody's thinking. I don't really want to be married, but, I want you to only be with me.
It would be kind of nice.
I want you to only be mine. So put a ring on it so I know. But I don't really want to be yours.
Yep. And so that is what ends up, he ends up going off to Morath. And that's a whole other fucking thing. So let's talk about the Battle of Aniel. That's going to come up here second because there's way too much going on in this book. So
way too much.
So we get back to...
I think we're only like a quarter of the way into the book because I swear the other day you were like, where are you? And I was like, oh, I'm just kidding. And you were like, oh, so you're like 3/4 of the way in? And I was just like, what? That's it?
We've been recording for almost an hour and I'm like, we haven't even gotten to the Battle of Aniel.
Wow. We got at least 15 minutes where my son screwed up.
So Chaol and with Irene, we find out that Irene is pregnant because everyone can figure it out except for Chaol. And she's just not telling it. Afiza's like, hey, you're...
Because he's a fucking man. I'm sorry. I had to. Okay?
Hafiza figures it out.
Immediately, she was like, you're pregnant. You're glowing.
Aelin will know immediately.
Yeah, because women are just like, ooh, liar. We haven't had our instinct periods today. I'm sorry. But you should never give me caffeine before these podcasts, obviously.
They're all trying to decide where they should go. Because they're like, do we go north to Terrasen or do we, trek out different ways to avoid the Volg and everything? They end up deciding that they're going to go to Aniel because Sartak and Nezran are flying ahead to scout and they see that there's a legion that's going towards Aniel. And Aniel is obviously important because that's where Chaol's from. We know Chaol and his father, who is the Lord of Aniel, do not exactly have a very nice relationship. And Irene knows that because she got to see the memory of him getting shoved down the stairs by his father when he said he was leaving to be with Dorian.
I wasn't sure if you were going to word it like that. I was just looking at you like she's doing it. She's doing it.
And I was like, you know what? It fits. So they end up going to Aniel to defend it, and they fight for a while. And then while the battle is raging on, side note I want to say about the people that escaped from Doranel. They went under these underground tunnels and they were on this. Basically, the little folk have been helping Aelin throughout a lot of this. So part of this is they light up a cave for them to stay in for the night, and then she finds a bathing pool to kind of like go in and release some of the pressure. And she and Aelin and Rowan finally get to talk. While they're in this boat ride as well, they stop at a Barrow White treasure trove, and she digs through it. She's like, "We need coins, so let's go get some money." And then that's when she gets the rings for her and Rowan. His has a ruby in it and hers has an emerald. And it's just a symbol of while she is obviously at a very low point and she's trying to manage the fact that she's free now, but she doesn't feel free and she doesn't feel like herself. She's trying to reclaim parts of what are important to her. And Rowan is that number one thing to her. So having those rings is like a symbol of Rowan can see she's trying. And he even thinks in his head he wants to ask, "Can I kiss you?" But she immediately like pulls back. And so it's really hard to watch Rowan be like, "I just want to hold you in my arms and tell you everything will be okay. But I know you can't handle being touched right now. And you were just physically abused so much that the idea of having someone else have any control of anything about you is just not what you want." And so I love who Rowan is and how he gives her the space to be who she needs to be at any given time in their lives.
He's also got like 500 years on her, so
but I think
there's some growth there.
There is, but I think what we'll see with it's the romanticy trope of she's 17 and he's 6,000 years old, but like I think part of what makes Aelin and Rowan work so well is that while she is super young, she's been through so much in her life that part of why Dorian didn't work and part of why Chaol didn't work is they couldn't understand the complexity of everything that she'd been through. And
yes, which Rowan is why I was saying that like he's had a lot of growth where like those young boys are like still young. Their minds haven't molded yet.
And while they could have grown into being really good partners, they just weren't the right people for Rowan. And that's why for
Aelin.
Aelin.
This is why I think these are her boyfriends. Like these are like ex-boyfriends. She's like, this one over here did this. This one over here did this. She was like, and this one fits just right. And her husband's like, yeah, baby. Did you see where I was? Like, and I was that golden haired fucking Fae man. Like, oh my God, I would love for her to be like, come out and be like, yes.
Yeah.
Every one of these horrible like Tamlin beat me was probably an ex-boyfriend. I don't know if she ever got hit, but I'm just saying like I could just picture her being I could picture these all being ex-boyfriends and then every Fae man she ends up with that's like the perfect Fae.
And whichever one Chaol was, very obviously married a really great woman because that's who Irene ended up being.
Yeah, it's like she wasn't jealous for him. She was like, good job.
Good job.
Oh my God. Sorry.
So they end up in Aniel and Chaol's like, you have to prepare. And he's like, fuck you. Burr, burr, burr. The Lord of Aniel is just like, you left me and your mom left and I'm a jerk. I'm a jerk. I'm a jerk and blah, blah, blah. And they end up getting put in like these really like the Aniel's also like falling apart. Like the keep is just like not well taken care of. And Irene's looking around like, what the hell?
Because he just kind of like after everybody left, he was just like, fuck everybody and fuck everything.
Chaol said he's like a penny pincher to the point where he's like, until it's like falling apart, I'm not fixing it. He's like a typical man. Like, the sole of your shoe is falling off and now you're going to buy shoes. My husband's not like that. He's like, can I buy more shoes? And I'm like, we just bought like 6 pairs for sure. But that's exactly how he is. So she's like, we're staying in these kind of like nasty, like, because he doesn't get to stay in his old chambers because that's for like the son of the Lord and he's like disowned. So that's not where he's going to stay. And she's like, your dad's a jerk. And he's like, yeah, I know. But his dad will throw it in his face. He's like, your wife's pregnant and you're taking her to war and all this stuff. And he's like, how do you know she's pregnant? He's like, she literally just has her hand on her stomach all fucking day long. You didn't think she was pregnant at all? And he will eventually confront Irene like in a happy way that he's really happy that she's pregnant. And she's like, I'm so sorry. I shouldn't have kept it from you. He's like, I'm not mad. Those two are just so sickly sweet together. I love them.
But I was just thinking, like, when you were pregnant, did you ever stick your hand on your stomach like that? Like when you were newly pregnant?
Not newly pregnant, I guess.
That's why I'm like, what? Like I was like, when I started having a bump, I was like, oh, like it would be unintentional. You would just rub it. But before that, like I would never just be like walking around like, oh, unless I was having like cramps or something. I'd be like, oh, like, I mean, like when did it? I don't think I ever touched my stomach until I was showing.
I think the main part of why Irene does it is not because she's like, I'm pregnant, but it's because she's thinking, oh God, I'm pregnant. And that's the only thing, like,
Got you.
I think that's why she's doing it, is less like, oh, look, I'm pregnant. It's more like, oh my God, there's a kid inside me and I'm going off to war and I want this, obviously, but this is not the way I ever wanted to do it, you know?
Yeah.
So I think she's a little terrified.
She's already Mrs. Westfall, though, so it's not like Westfall.
Westfall.
I don't know why I said Fald. I was like, she's already Mrs. Westfall.
It's like a tree.
Like, but like, you know, she's married. Get the fuck over it.
Yeah.
Like,
so
could be the bastard of your child, you know? Like,
yeah, it was just like he was just trying to throw something in his face, and the Volg end up descending on them, and they're fighting and everything. Aelin and Rowan and all those guys show up, and there is a battle that they're fighting, and what happens is that there is a big dam that is out there, and they originally, Sartak was like, well, why don't we just flood the whole area and then the Volg can't like get across? And they're like, because it'll take out the keep and kill everyone inside. So they're like, okay, we can't do that. And then Nezrin and Sartak again will fly in and then be like, hey guys, so the dam's about to break. And that's when Aelin will go out and she will go and stop the water. But one of my favorite things in this entire book is about to happen. So the battle is raging. Everyone is out on the field. And who is out there fighting like Hellas? Lorcan Salvatore. And he is basically at the point where he's like, if I die out here, because Elide still hasn't come around to even being okay with being in his presence pretty much. And so he's like, if I'm going to die out here, it's going to be because I did it for my family and the people I love that are in there. And I'm going to make this happen. So he's cutting down as many Volg as possible. He's relishing in it until he's overwhelmed. And Elide's up on the battlements and she's looking around. Chaol had rushed in because they're like, the dam's going to break. We have to get everyone in. So they're trying to pull the army in behind the gates. And Elide's looking at Gabriel and Rowan and everybody. And he's like, where's Lorcan? And they're like looking at each other like, I don't know. And Aelin's up there still. And she's like, where is Lorcan? And everyone's like, I don't know. And they're just kind of looking at each other. And she's like, you gotta be fucking kidding me.
This is war, so it's not like anybody. You're paying attention to your own fucking life.
So she ends up running down the stairs. She starts yelling, the queen, make way for the queen so that she can clear everybody out. She goes down to the stables and the first horse that's there is Farasha because Chaol just came in and got off his horse. Farasha's throwing a fit, like always, Miss Butterfly. And she's like, I'll take care of it. And she takes the reins and hops on Farasha. And and I mentioned this in Tower of Dawn, why I love that the horse is named Farasha and as Hellas's horse is the one that Elide, who is blessed by Aneth, who was Hellas's lover of the gods. I just love that symbolism overall. I think that's so cool. And she rushes out while everyone's rushing in to go save Lorcan off the battlefield. And she's just screaming, Lorcan. And I'm just like, come on, Elite, get Lorcan. Even on the read through, I was listening. We talked about this before we started filming. Star and I had to listen between. I started on 2 speed, then I bumped it to 2.5, and then by the end of this book, I was at 3.5 because I just had to get done with this.
I was at 3.5 by the end too.
But I slowed down to like 1.7 just so I could listen to the scene. I was like, "Come on, Elite, go get him!" And then she gets down there and she's yelling for him, and the dam's breaking. And she's like, Lorcan. And then he sticks a hand up through the Volg pile that's down there. And she sees him and it's like, oh my God. So she hops off the horse, gets him up. And she's like, you have to go. And he's got this giant gash through his stomach and on his back and stuff. And she helps him get on the horse. And they're racing and racing. And at one point, Lorcan is like, there's no way we're going to make it with my weight on top of Farasha. Like she's like, fly, Farasha, fly. And he's like, we're not going to make it. So he's like, I love you. I should have told you I love you.
This is when you said, I think it was you that sent me the video of the guy that was like, how dare you not put it on page? Like, this is that scene, right? Because this is what I was like.
No, he says, I love you. And then he starts to kind of try to let go of her and slide off. And she grips him and says, no, you're not doing this. And he realizes in that moment that he's going to take her with him if he tries to fall off. So he just has to hope that they make it. That's when Aelin comes down onto the field and the wave is rushing at them and she uses her blast of power and everything turns into smoke. And Rowan will use the last bits of his magic to make sure that steam doesn't come and kill everybody because it's really hot steam. So he's pushing all of that away. And Rowan and Aelin will completely drain themselves of their power at this point. This was Maeve's killing blow that Aelin had been tunneling down in her power for 3 months for.
This I remember.
And she's like, in that moment, I knew what was important was less me being able to do this to kill Maeve and more about saving the people that I love. So Lorcan is saved. He's in like a sick bed and Elide is there with him. And she's like, did you mean it? And he's like, yes, I love you. They have their whole love confessions thing and they like kiss and all that kind of stuff. So now they're back together. I
don't know why I thought they like said that on the beach. Like the whole like love confession thing was on the beach.
That was Rowan and Aelin. Not their like love confession, but
no,
like,
I thought it was like, it must have been when he was like, I must have had it on too fast a speed and I just assumed they were still on the beach.
No, so
that must have been what happened.
What will happen is that the off-page thing that pisses me off about Elide and Lorcan is that later on, Elide and Lorcan will be making out and stuff, and then they'll start. They're in a I think they're in Orinth, I think. They're somewhere with a bed. And she's about to take a bath. And
I am totally
in front of him.
Okay. Yeah. Sorry. I screwing that up really bad. I told you sometimes I'm like, I remember scenes.
I feel like it's
but I'm always
Orinth
in like
before the
wrong
first battle.
Yeah.
That's what I'm thinking it is. So another side note is before this whole battle had started was that they had gone down into the armory and they just took all of the armor they could find. The Fae males were trying to like stick whatever little random pieces they could stick on because they can't wear like a human suit of armor. And Aelin put on a full gold suit of armor with like a headpiece on that.
Yes, which we should have known was no.
What?
Wasn't it hers?
No, it wasn't hers.
That chick from the Iron, whatever the hell, the sand, the Wastelands wasn't hers.
Oh, Ansel's?
Yeah.
No, this is Anniel's stuff.
Why the fuck did I like see? Sometimes I read these stories and I'm like, are you sure?
Yeah. This is just what was in Anniel's things because they had like golden armor that they would wear. So that whole fight happens, and then they all now have to discuss what they're going to do from there. And the Cognate are like, I don't know if we want to go to Terrasen. And she's like, please, for the love of God, go to Terrasen. Like, we have to go. They will eventually, especially Sartak, will lead the charge, being like, no, we're going to go. Like, this obviously, they came to the Southern Kingdom. We're not the only ones that are going to be involved in this. Battle of Anniel commenced. They're heading towards Terrasen now. They are finding ways that they're going to go meet up with Caution because Caution's leading the Dargan Riders in a different direction as well. Let's go back to Manon and Dorian. So they were in the Farian Gap. One of the reasons they were in the Farian Gap was because Manon was going to talk to Petra Blueblood to try to get her to align with them. That's what ended up leading the Iron Teeth matrons to her to have that fight. Dorian goes to Morath. He flies off as a raven or whatever. And after his discussion with Manon, where they decided they weren't going to get married just because of this. So
they should have.
I know. They infiltrated Morath. And when he's there, he's kind of like snooping around for a couple days. And then all of a sudden this dark presence shows up and he's like, what is that? And it's Maeve. Maeve shows up and she talks to Erewhon and she's like, I want to make an alliance with you because now I'm getting fucked royally by everybody. Because what happened was after the Battle of Anniel, after really Aelin had escaped because Kael tells everybody, hey, Maeve's Volg, by the way, and so are the Stygian spiders and the Karen Kui. That's the big reveal to that group of people. However, before this even happened, Aelin sent out letters to the Fae and Doranel and to a bunch of different places to say, hey, by the way, Maeve is Volg, so maybe you don't want her to be the queen. So the Fae and Doranel are like, fuck this bitch, we're not following her anymore. So her entire army is against her. All of her people are against her. She's essentially ousted as queen. So she goes to Morath and she's like, I want to make a deal with you. Let's take down Aelin Galthinius together. I can teach you because we learned in Empire of Storms that she is, or I guess we learned in the beginning of this book while she was torturing her that she was a world walker. And a world walker is what Bryce is in Crescent City too, because she could walk between different worlds. Maeve is able to open small portals and go between worlds herself. But she said it takes a lot, and it depends on how powerful the being is in terms of how she can move them through. She took all of the Karen Kui were her handmaidens that she brought through the portal when she came to Aurelia. So she's like, I could open a portal and you could see your brothers again. She's like, I can't bring them through because they're too powerful, but you could speak to them again. And he's like, that sounds kind of interesting. And Dorian ends up in Maeve's chambers, and he's kind of snooping around. And Maeve's like, dude, I know you're here. You're not that sneaky.
I mean,
he's like a fruit fly, and he's caught in her hands as a fruit fly, and he's like, I'm gonna die. He's like, well, shit, this is how I die, as a fruit fly. She's just gonna right in between her hands. And he's like, why don't we partner up? You could be my queen, and then we could take down Erewhon together. And she's like, bet. I'm like, this whole section of the book, I remember reading it the first time and being like, there's no fucking way that he's literally just sleeping on Maeve's floor, unguarded. Just like, yeah, I'm going to just play the queen of... And she does like we get a similar description as we get into ACOTAR of like the tendrils, like black tendrils trying to creep into their mind and how they have to slam like the doors shut to their mind. Is very similar to describing Maeve's power going into Dorian's brain and him smacking his gates closed and everything like that. So I just think that's so cool that there's like so much tie-in with that. Dorian ends up figuring out where the last word key is. Maeve shapeshifts into like Aelin and is like trying to like swagger her way and be like, you could have this, I could be like with you and stuff. And Erewhon's like, gross, go away. And he's like, if I wanted seconds from my brother, I would have just taken it, and he's like, you're still married to my brother, by the way. Just because you ran away doesn't mean you got a divorce. Dorian ends up pretending to be Elide Locken's uncle, and he tries to get some information out of Erewhon. It's like, what the fuck's going on? And he ends up figuring out where the word key is, everything. He takes the key and he destroys Morath on the way out. And Maeve's pissed because he got away with it, obviously, and got away from her. Now he's on a quest to go find Aelin and everybody and go figure out what he's going to do with these keys. While they're in Aniel, they figure out that they could get the wild men to be a part of the armies and everything. But the only way that they're willing to help participate is if they're given back some of their territory from the Lord of Aniel. And the Lord of Aniel's like, I'm not doing that. And Aelin just turns to Chaol and she's like, you're hand of the king. Technically, you can overrule him. So just give them their land. And Chaol's like, done. Here's your land, white men and wild men of the Fangs. And they end up going through because the fastest way they're going to get to Orinth is to go through the Fangs. So they need the wild men to lead them safely through it. And they end up leading them. They run into Elide's uncle, and he's like, I'll give you information as long as you promise not to kill me. And she's like, don't worry, I won't kill you. And he's chained down, and then they just leave him.
Yes, which I thought was like, she was like, I didn't say I would kill you, but how many days can you go without water? And I was like, and I had it at like 3.5, and I was like, what the fuck? I had to like rewind it. I was like, I forgot about this part. Mm-hmm. No, which is, I don't know if that's even more fucked up. I would rather just die. Just kill me. Like,
well, yeah, but he's too arrogant and was like, look,
starvation and water. Just, I don't know. It just seems like a horrible way to go out.
I know.
Stomach is growling in a way you've never felt in your life.
Exactly.
I don't know.
While all of this is going on, the army makes it to Orinth, and they're fighting and everything. Eventually, Manon and the 13, as well as the Krakens, will meet up and they'll help with the battles and everything going on. So that's still going on while everything else is happening in the Fangs and everybody else trying to get to Orinth. And during this time, so Aelin had spent all that time with Rowan after she got saved, was training again, learning to use her sword again, her magic, figuring out who she was once more. And now she kind of feels like she's back into who she is. She can burn with fire again, and that really releasing all of that power that she had saved for Maeve is what brought her back into who she is. So now she's like, I'm facing what actually has to be done, because they run into Dorian and they're like, we have all 3 word keys now. We have to seal the gate. And Rowan's like, there has to be literally some other way to make this so I don't lose you, like, because you're gonna just go sacrifice yourself. And she's like, this is what I have to do. And he's like, no, you don't. You just decided that no one else is allowed to help you. He's like, what if you and Dorian do it together, and then maybe you both won't die? And she ends up agreeing to that. But that night beforehand, she asks Rowan to redo her tattoo for her. And Rowan's like, I have a couple other ideas for the design too. And they like sleep together and everything. He does the design, and that design's going to be super important for when she ends up in there. So they go to take a vote, and she's like, do we do it now or do we do it when we're in Orinth? And Rowan's like, we're not voting on this. Like, we're not voting on when you're going to die. And she's like, yes, let's take a vote. And all of the Cognate leaders are like, fucking do it, dude. Like, let's get this over with.
I don't think he realizes though, like, especially in women, when they haven't like had anybody to like trust for God knows how long, they start to just be like, fuck it, I can do it myself. Like, I don't need you. Like, and we just start to become very independent in a way that men just can't grasp, because you burned me so many times. And I'm just like, not him directly, but people in their lives make them very like much like, I'm not going to ask for help. Like
that. And I think what Aelin has is, from the really a young age, she's watched the people in her life that have brought her joy or have tried to help her in certain ways die.
That's true too.
Her parents got killed. She ran off. She fell in love with Sam. She and Sam were finally seeking out their freedom. Sam got killed. She finally gets Nehemia to be a friend. She gets a female friend in Nehemia, and Nehemia sacrifices herself because she's not willing to. Yeah. And so now she's like, Nehemia's death was the final straw where she's like, nobody else gets to fall on the sword for me anymore. And I'm not telling people my plans because they're just going to meddle. And so
they're trying to help you. Exactly. God, we need some therapy.
I know. Everyone in this thing needs lots and lots of therapy. And they decide to go. She finally allows Dorian to go into because Dorian's like, I'll do it. He's like, everybody else has other things that they're living for. He's like, I'm just me. I don't have anything else. Otterlin will be fine. I would trust you to take care of them. Let's be mindful too of that. Not only is she Queen of Terrasen, she's also the Fairy Queen of the West, because the little folk gave her the crown and said, we crown you as our queen. Dorinel no longer has a queen anymore. So it's very possible she could rule over Dorinel, even though she doesn't want to. She wants like Rowan's cousins to take it over or something like that. She's like, I don't need this also. But there are so many people that rely on her. And Dorian's like, Otterlin would be okay. We've already been okay with not having an actual king for years. So at this point, what is there to lose if I'm gone? So that's also just really sad on Dorian's part that he feels so lost at that point. But they go into the gate together, and that's when they run into they're sealing the gate, or they're putting the word keys in the gate and everything like that. And they hear stop, stop, stop called after them. And they open their eyes, and Dorian, the ghost of Dorian's father shows up, and he's like, you can't do this. You don't have power. And he's like, I do. I don't have as much power as you do, but I do have power. And he's like, you can't be the one to sacrifice. He's like, nameless is my price. He's like, what is my name, Dorian? And he's like, I don't know. And then that's Aelin's like, I've never heard the king's name. I don't know what his name is. And we still don't know his name during this time. It's just, he says, nameless is my price. I don't have a name. Let me be the one to take this burden. And Aelin's like, done. I was going to kick him out anyway. So she like lets go of Dorian and grabs onto his hand. Dorian comes back, and Rowan's sitting on the side of like the circle of word marks and everything like that. And he's just like in agony because he can feel that mating bond just shredding away. And he's just like, no, there's no way. And he had told Aelin before they went in, come back to me. Make sure you come back to me. They seal everything. They run into the gods, and she's opening a portal for the gods because they're like, this was the whole point. And she's like, what if take me instead of, let's make a trade so Elena can be spared. And they're like, you know what? Now we're not even going to deal with Erewhon. So Erewhon's stuck in your world. We're leaving, and we're also taking Elena. So bye, bitch. Like there's no.
I know that just irritated me though. I don't know. It just.
But before and. All of her power has been stripped away. Yeah. But then Mala turns back to her before she enters the portal, and she gives her an ember of power, and that way she can still survive. And Aelin starts falling. She's like, World Walker, I can go back. I can make it home. I just have to go back to Rowan. I'm not going to die. I'm Aelin Ashriva Galathinius. I will not be afraid. This is not how I die. I will not yield. And so she starts going through these worlds. She starts falling as a world walker through these worlds, and she starts kind of flipping through them really fast, and then all of a sudden she's passing through a city with tall buildings along a river, which is Crescent City. Yeah. Then she falls into it's like a world that's like green and beautiful, and then she falls into a city or it's like mountains and the night sky and everything, and she sees the most beautiful male she's ever seen with a heavily pregnant female next to him.
This is like Katie's like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. I can feel the radiation coming off of Katie. You have no idea.
So when I read ACOTAR first and then I read Throne of Glass.
See, I read Throne of Glass and then ACOTAR, so I didn't catch this.
So when she starts falling through the worlds, I literally went, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. Because I was like, wait, Feyre was pregnant. Yes. This is Silver Flames. So I like freaked out and I put the book down and I Googled. I was like, oh my God, is there any part of this that like happens? And so in Silver Flames, there's a teeny tiny mention of a red star falling in the sky and Rhysand talking about how he slowed it down. And it's like the teeny tiniest part, and we'll talk about it when we do Silver Flames.
I know.
But
and Katie's already like, I want to talk about it now.
I was like, oh my God. And so I was like, it was Rhysand and Feyre, because I was reading it and I was like, is that Rhysand and Feyre? Is that Rhysand and Feyre? And then I was like, oh my God, it is. So then I go back to it and I'm finishing. I had to pull out my copy of Silver Flames. And at the last minute, so she falls through the world. And this is one reason I wanted to bring this up, is because that tattoo on her back had word marks in it.
Yes.
That was the map to bring her home to Rowan.
Yeah, because Rowan's not stupid. Come
Rowan's amazing. I love Rowan so much. So it was, and I love for this situation, I love that Rowan basically said, if you're not going to involve me in plans, I'm going to make my own.
It's a real man.
We're going to make this happen. You're not leaving me. You can try, bitch, but you're coming with me. So Aelin comes back to him. Side note, because we'll talk about this in Crescent City, the same thing happens with Bryce, where the horn is how they world walk.
Yes.
The horn that gets ground up into a powder and tattooed on her back.
Yes, but she doesn't know that.
She doesn't know that until the end of the first book, second book, whatever it is.
I think it's the second book. We have to reread these, but I'm pretty sure it's the second book.
I think it's the second book.
Because she meets Hunt in the first book, and then the second book, he gives her all of the information,
I think it's the second book. But anyway, she uses that, but she always talks about how it's in a language she doesn't understand, and it has to be word marks. It has to be the similar kind of word marks that Rowan used on Aelin. I just know it. You just know it. Anyways.
Oh, you have no idea how excited Katie is. She's like, her whole body is vibrating over here.
So now we're finally getting the convergence of everybody. Orinth is about to be completely sieged by the Volk. They are falling back. Nothing's going well for them. The Krakens are dying. And at this point, they have a witch tower that's coming out. And the way that the witch towers worked were that there are a bunch of mirrors inside the tower, and then a witch would go in, fall into it, do the yielding, and it would blast out and kill anybody within the space. It kind of reminds me of in ACOTAR when the king uses the cauldron and it just like bursts out and like kills everything in that line. Same idea. So that's happening. And Abraxos gets injured during this battle. And Abraxos is on the battlements, and Manon's trying to like nurse him back to health and figure out what is like broken and everything like that, and take care of Abraxos. When this is happening, Astrid comes up to Manon and she says, "Live, Manon." And Manon turns and goes, "What?" And she says, "Live, Manon, live." And then Astrid knocks her out. And she like falls down, and the rest of the 13 go out, and they are fighting in the air, and they land towards the ground and towards that witch tower, and they all make the yielding, and they actually go out in bright white instead of the black that usually the darkness that they would see for the witches. And the 13 sacrifice their lives in order to take out this witch tower.
Sacrifice their life.
Yeah, the 13 minus Manon.
It's just such a weird sounding, because it's like Manon lives, so it's 12. Like, yeah.
And Manon's the last one. It's devastating for Manon.
Are you fucking kidding me, though? Like, could you imagine you lose all your friends in 1 second, and like one of them's your cousin? I don't know.
Yeah.
Girl, I don't know. Every time I read this story, I'm like, take me with you. Like, why did you want me to live? Like,
yeah. And the sacrifice of the 12 of the 13 is what keeps that battle at bay and kind of stops it for the night. And Manon now has to deal with the fact that everything she loved basically is just gone. The next day, the war starts going again, and they're all falling back towards the gates because they're getting mashed up against the gates again. Aedion and Lysandra have made up at this point. So after Lysandra almost dies, Aedion's like, I love you.
Well, this is when everybody decides that they love them, is when they're almost dead. They're like, wait a minute.
Aedion's like, I should have told you I love you, and I meant everything I ever said. I'm going to marry you, and we're going to have children. And Lysandra's like, get out of my tent or whatever. Like, at first,
the poor guy. Why is everybody so mean to him? He loves her.
Good on Lysandra, because Lysandra's like, you only care about me because I almost died. That's the only reason you're deciding to be nice to me now.
It's because he figured it out, okay? The thought of loss. Some guys are dumb, okay? I'm telling you.
Aedion's super dumb.
Aedion's nice.
But
don't have a shirt that says Aedion apologizer. I'm literally always apologizing for this guy. But you have to understand, I'm worried. Now I'm like concerned. I'm like, who in my life is Aedion? Like, why am I so concerned for this guy?
Like I said, I think it's because of who Lysandra is more than who Aedion is why I dislike it. Because Lysandra's put up with shitty men for so much of her life, she doesn't need to put up with another one. And so she finally like gives into it once he's almost dying. They're both like, okay, we could not live to see another day. And they kiss and everything. And they decide they're like hooking up in the corners. They're like hooking up in the shadows and everything, but they're not fully having sex yet because they're like, we're not going to have sex until after everything's safe.
Oh my God.
Also,
I'll just finger bang you.
Also, Lysandra has Evangeline with her, and Evangeline actually has been hanging out with Darrow a lot. She ends up becoming his like messenger person for like the immediate area, so she's not running into war, but she's being useful. And Darrow gets a soft spot for her, and while they're up on the battlements kind of watching everything, he's like asking her questions, and she's like, I just wish I could have seen Caraver one time. I wish I could have seen the beauty of what would have been my home, because I've never had a real home and stuff. And that's what really is like, Darrow's like, well, shit. I should have been nicer to these people.
Just a little.
And so eventually Darrow will promise Evangeline. He's like, I never got to have kids. I never got to have any of the things that I wanted in my life. But if you would have it, I would love for you to be my heir, and you would inherit all of my riches, because I never want you to go without ever again. So if it takes Evangeline to get Darrow's little black heart to kind of grow 3 sizes, you know, like the Grinch. And while they're facing this battle where they've kind of accepted this is going to be the end of it, they get Aelin, before they had made it up there, while they were like on the hill or whatever, the Lord of the North had walked out of the forest, and the glowing bright between his antlers was fire. So she ends up riding in her golden armor with the last dregs of her power shining in the ruby and Goldren, rides up behind the Volg army along with like Fenris and Rowan and everybody right beside her, and the Dargan cavalry following behind with the Rooks above, come in to attack the Volg from the back. And that's the moment where Aedion and those guys are like, oh my God, this might actually work. And they're fighting and fighting and fighting. And then another Volg army comes up from Peranth. And they're all trying to get behind the gates because they're like, this is not going to end well. Aelin is fighting with just her sword, basically, because she doesn't have the fire magic to fight everything. They get almost everyone behind the gates. There's a siege ladder that comes up, and Aedion is battling and everything. And Gavriel is like, he says that he loved Aedion and wished he could have been a father for him. And Gavriel goes beyond the gate and gets it closed. And he sacrifices himself. There's a bright white light of him dying. And that's again when Aedion being like, no, I could have had a dad. Like, it's like, God. Aedion, you have to come to conclusions about people before they're almost dead or die. Like, you have to give them some grace. And it's not like, for me, the hard part I had with is I understand Aedion had spent a lot of his life blaming his father, even though Gavriel had no idea about it.
I know, but that's not how, like...
I get it. The problem is that, like, he was told, I had no idea this is the story, and he still was like, well, you're an asshole, you know? Like,
you can't expect me to change my feelings after 10 minutes.
He won't change
I needed to be wearing my Aedion apologizes shirt.
Really
this is, like, literally the day where I'm like, no, feel bad for Aedion. I'm telling you, now I need to know who in my life I'm like, why am I defending this person so hard?
So while that goes on, they get everyone behind the gates, and Erewhon and Maeve show up together.
I know, the fucking sick bastards.
And they get everyone's behind the gates except for Aelin closes the gates behind Chaol. And Chaol's like, what? And he turns around and sees that she's by herself now. And Rowan has, he got shot with an iron arrow, and he can't use his powers to shift and fly over to her. And he's, the wound had already healed over, so he's having to dig it out with his knife. And he's just trying to get it out while he's watching Aelin walking up by herself with the tiny amount of power she still has left just flaring.
Oh, I thought Maeve thought she didn't have any power at all, because I thought she made some comment like, you're powerless or something.
Later, because when they start fighting, she'll realize she's not using any of her power. So she walks up to Maeve and Erewhon. There's like back and forth that happens. Finally, the cadre will make it out to them. But what happens is Erewhon looks up and he's like, there's healers here. And Maeve's like, yeah, there's obviously the healers here. It's like war. And he's like, you do not understand. And so Erewhon leaves because he's like, I'm going to kill whatever healers are here because that's going to be my fucking problem. And that leaves Aelin and Maeve to go against each other. They start fighting. At one point, Aelin's like, I am a god. And and she realizes, Maeve realizes she doesn't have power. Maeve will go into her mind and try to convince her of a few different things. And she's like, this isn't real. Because she's like, oh, I'm back in the box. Everything's like, I don't have any scars.
I know, this is when I was like, I can't do this again. I can't do this again.
She's like, it was all a dream. It was a dream. I've been here this whole time. And you're like, no. I read that the first time. I was like, I swear to God, if this is actually a dream that she's been stuck in this fucking coffin the whole time, I'm going to lose my mind.
Right. It would be pretty fucking, it would have been really amazing. You did a great job really convincing us she was out of the coffin.
Oh my God. Thankfully it wasn't.
I know, but I'm just saying, like, I was fucked up. Even on the third time, I know I was like, no. And I know this is like one of those things where it's like you've read the book so many times, you should know, but everything in you, your emotions are still like, no.
True. And so they're fighting off, and then Rowan shows up, Lorcan shows up, and Fenris comes in his wolf form, and Fenris is the one who lunges towards Maeve, and she starts penetrating all their minds, and Aelin's looking around, and they're all like staring blankly, and Lorcan is watching like Elide grow old and die, and basically be like, this, was it worth it to you to have to watch this happen to me?
It was worth it. God damn it.
And
Elide's amazing.
And Rowan's watching, he sees Lyria again, and she's like, you chose her over me. You were going to pick her over me. Like all these horrible things to him. Right. And then Aelin's watching them, and she's like, I have to get them out. So she burns them. And that's what, and Rowan's like, wait, burning. That's something that I feels like home to me, is something burning. So he comes out, Lorcan comes out, and they end up all joining, Rowan and her join hands so that she can get his power. Lorcan's also fighting with his dark magic. And then while they are distracting Maeve, that's when Fenris gets the killing blow of taking Goldrin and stabbing it right through her heart. And that ends up killing Maeve.
Yeah.
So, and well, it almost kills Maeve. What happens is Aelin gets down really close in her face, and she slips that golden ring onto her.
I was going to say, I thought it was like something, yeah.
She slips Athral's ring onto her, and that kills her.
This is one of those things where we should have a rant. Be like,
as a side note, I want to say one of the other things that had happened, well, I forgot about until now because they are important, is Maeve, during the time she was with Erewhon.
And I was like, well, we've already bypassed it.
Maeve, all the time she was with Erewhon, gave over some of the Karen Kui, who were her handmaidens, because they were like, oh, the Volg princess possession's really difficult because they're way stronger than Volg princes, and so you need really specific hosts for this. And so the sister down in the Southern Kingdom was the first example that they used, but she's like, the Karen Kui will be willing hosts. And so they had like 5 or 6 of them were given to Erewhon, and then princesses were put in them. So the Karen Kui had shown up to that battle as well. They get slaughtered as well. And so Maeve's out, and then we cut to Erewhon is talking to Irene and backing her into the wall, and is like yelling at her and all this kind of stuff. And then Dorian shifts into himself, and he's like, I'm not Irene. And so he had backed him into a word mark that holds him in place, and Irene comes out the back and starts to take the Volg out and kill him and heal the Volg out of him, basically. So then during that time while Erewhon's dying, Dorian says, what was his name? And he's like, what are you talking about? And he's like, what was my father's name? And he's like, it was a spell I could only use one time. And I got everyone in the kingdom to not remember his name. But he only remembered it one time when he looked at you and named you.
I was fucking dying. I was like, what?
His name's Dorian. So yeah, he named him after himself because it was, and for Dorian, that's like, there was one piece of him that was still looking out for him and was like, he still was in there when he saw his son. And his son was one of the only reasons that he was able to fight for it so hard. So just heartbreaking because you spend so much of this series hating the King of Otterlin and seeing all these horrible things. Even by the end, when you know he's possessed by Volg of Queen of Shadows, that it's still like, well, how much of it was he a part of it?
I think we had that discussion and I was like, what the fuck?
So seeing this at the end is like, oh man, like he really was looking out for his kids or doing the best he could in a situation that was just terrible, you know? So pretty incredible. And Irene ends up killing Erewhon. And that's for good. Erewhon's not coming back again. Aelin sees the flash of blue light. And then she raises Goldrin up. And then that's when the cheers start going, Irene Towers, Irene Towers.
Which again, the only people that like Kale after this book are the people that love Irene. I'm telling you, let's just be honest. All of you out there, be honest. You only like Kale because of Irene. You only like Lorcan because of Eileen. Come on. You know that these women are the only reason you like these men.
They inspire good growth in them. So
is that why Adian didn't win? Because Lysandra was like, I don't know if I love you the same way that these other women love their men.
She ends up loving
I know she ends up loving him. That's not what I'm saying though. Like she was just like, I don't have the energy to inspire you to grow.
We forgot to talk about before the Battle of Orinth, when they're staying in the castle, or after, whatever it is. Elite's going to take a bath, and he Lorcan gets her all set up for it, and he's like, I will let you.
Well, we kind of talked
lead
about
this
it
or whatever. We talked about it a little bit, but she strips out of her clothes in front of him, and he's like, oh, okay. And then he picks her up and puts her on the bed, and then he's like, she says, show me everything.
Okay, but here's my problem, okay? We've had this conversation. She's like this tall, and like Lorcan's like this tall. Like he's even taller than like his waist is like touching her head. He's like literally like this to her head. Okay, so like, what are you gonna do with that? What are you gonna do with that fey fucking male? I'm sorry, he's gonna break you. Maybe that's why she didn't write it on paper, because she was like, you're gonna die today, Aline. Like that thing's gonna literally break you in half. You're gonna feel it in the back of your throat. You're not gonna know what to do with yourself. I just think that she was like, I don't know how to write this because that poor girl's gonna die. Like
she said, show me everything, and then it says, and Lorcan did.
He did. We just flop it on your head there, baby.
Flop it on your head. Oh my God. Yeah, no, it's I've
thought about this numerous times, which I know is terrible. But I'm just saying, he's like 7 foot something, and she's like barely 5 foot. Like his waist is taller than her head, okay? She literally comes up to his thigh. She's like, I don't even come up to it. I come to the tip of it. Like, I don't know what to say. Like,
you know what? It's got to work because Shaq's had enough girlfriends that are like 4.5 feet tall.
Yeah, it's got to work. She was like, I was throating it, and I could feel it coming out to the other side. She's like, it was just an empty hole. I don't know, dude.
Got to be ways for it to work.
Yeah, Shaq's probably like this big. We're not talking about a fey man. We're talking about a human man. He's probably, 2 inches.
I don't know.
He's got a micro for somebody that's 7.
You're saying that Shaq has a micro?
Seven. What is the Shaq? 7'2" or something? It's a micro, so it would be like a normal human man.
Oh my God.
All right, everybody, don't fire me. Katie, cut that.
Oh my God. Katie's leaving it in.
That's gonna be a worse plot point. She's gonna be like, and then we talked about Shaq.
And then we talked about how big Shaq's dick is.
It would be a micro to a normal human. Don't kill me, Shaq. I don't know you. I'm just making suggestions. I haven't seen it.
Have you seen that? Oh my gosh, what's it called? It's called Catching Print or whatever.
No.
It's
no, but now I'm like, what?
It's this gay dude on TikTok who shows you how you can see how big a guy's dick is.
I did see this. He's not accurate though, because there's like too many times where like he's a grower, not a shower. Too many times in my life where I'm like, well, that's gonna be, and then you're like, holy shit. Yeah, that's how you can tell when the girl's eyes are like, what the fuck?
Oh
you
my
know, there's
God.
men out there that are just showers and they don't grow anything. And then there's men out there that are just definite growers. And you're like,
true.
where did that fucking come from? Was that just tucked up there and it was just waiting? Turtle.
So anyways, all the Vogue die. The second Erewhon's dead. Done. They all just collapse. And
I like how
everyone's
she's like,
because they all just like fall over.
I just the way you did it. You just gotta make sure you get right in the microphone.
I can't even do it. Like domino. Anyway,
I like them better.
so everyone's defeated. Now they have to clean up Orth. Falcon and R runs into Lysandra and is like, I'm your uncle. And she's like, amazing. And this is like our
I just love how they're amazing. Yeah, that's not what happened. Even on audio, shit wasn't that cool.
amazing. Well, she like ran over and gave him a hug, was crying.
I don't know you, but let me touch you.
I know. So we also see that Lorcan says to Elide, tell me you love me. And she says, I love you. And then
I thought it was the lead that told that to Lorcan.
no,
I
Lorcan says,
swear to God.
no, Lorcan says, tell me you love me. And she says, I love you, Lorcan. And then he says, tell me you want to go home together. And then she says, I want to go home. And then he says, tell me you'll marry me. Or to ask me to marry you.
Okay, because I was like,
says,
a lead says it.
Yeah.
Okay, but she does. She goes,
Yeah.
marry me,
Yeah, she
Lorcan.
says, "Marry
and then
me."
I was mad.
And then she starts
I was
laughing.
mad. Because I was like, bitch, you're supposed to ask her. She's not supposed to ask you.
I was a little annoyed with that. But
I mean, I guess I get the idea, but like,
Lorcan's like, she starts laughing. And he's like, what's so funny? And she's like, I just realized if we get married, you have to take my last name.
I know.
So you're going to be Lord Lorcan.
I did die a little when I read that.
That's pretty funny. And then they're going to go home to Paranth. Adian kind of also adopts Evangeline. They're going to go to Caraver together with Lysandra. And
I don't know why Lysandra kept Adian. She could have just taken Evangeline and they could have just been rich together.
Mm-hmm.
I totally like Adian. I was just giving Katie a little love there.
Mm-hmm. So side note on the sad side of things. So Gavriel died in that battle when he was closing the gate, and they take his body back, and Aelin offers 3 drops of her blood to his
Shouldn't
mouth.
you feel bad for Adian? He's an orphan now. I'm just trying to like.
Orphans who do bad things are still bad people, even if they are orphans.
Poor guy. Poor guy. He's an orphan now. He's not as strong as other people.
So, but she offers him the blood oath. And
he
honestly,
sucks it off of her. I
Which
don't know why
kind
that's
of
how I
sucks.
pictured it. I pictured her being like, he'd be like, I don't know. She's like,
overall, it kind of sucks that she didn't give Gavriel the blood oath when they were alive, because honestly, it was partially because if she gave it to Gavriel before Adian, it would be like another betrayal to Adian, right?
would it though? Adian's like, you honestly think Adian's a little bitch. You were like, no, you should have.
I think it would. I think she was taking Adian's feelings into account
For the
because
first time.
Yeah, because she gives Lorcan the blood oath after she gets saved, and it's only because she doesn't trust Lorcan. So she's like, I don't have any reason to use this over you unless you start screwing me over. Then I will use it. And
Yes.
so he's like, fine. And the only reason he takes that blood oath is because of a lead. So she doesn't offer it to Gavriel, and she probably would have if he'd survived. But Adian needed to take that blood oath before his father he didn't know. He was already pissed enough that Rowan got it, and now Fenris and Lorcan also have sworn the blood oath, and he still hasn't.
Maybe he should have just fucking gotten on his knees and been like, let me suck it dry, baby.
So after everything gets cleaned up and stuff, Aelin gets crowned as the Queen of Terrasen finally. And and she swears Adian into the blood oath because he wanted the big ceremony when she was queen to get it. So now Adian is blood sworn.
Are you just mad because he's a little princess? He's like, let me be like, I want to be in center stage.
He is a little princess. I'm just mad that he treats people so poorly. That's my main issue. He can be a princess all he wants.
Oh my God.
And so we kind of get all of
He
our
should be like, yes, queen.
we get all of our couples doing their thing. So we get
Which is like
Rowan-
every fucking buddy.
we get our little wrap up with a bow. So we get Aelin and Rowan are now king and queen, queen and king consort of Terrasen. Adian is going to go off with Lysandra and Evangeline. We have Elide and Lorcan who are going to go be in Paranth. Irene and Kay all decide they're going to move back to Otterlin. And And Irene actually has a conversation with Hafiza. She's like, I'm sorry, I can't come back and be your
super
heir.
excited. This could be a whole nother book too. I'm telling you, you could have
her.
there's a couple novellas we could be writing right now.
Well, I'm hoping SJM will come back to this world because she has talked about how she's writing in a world that she is not Akatar or Crescent City and she's excited about. And I really hope, or it's revisiting a world. I really hope it's Center Glass because I would love to see, I really would like to see Irene going and setting up the Northern Territory chessmen.
Yes.
That'd be really cool.
Yes.
Seeing anything about the 13.
Yes.
Side note about the 13, we'll talk about it in Akatar. There are some theories that the 13 are now, because they were white when they did the yielding, white light, that they didn't actually die. They're now in different worlds. So there is a merchant that not a merchant, the mercenary that Feyre meets in the town square or whatever that has the brown band across her forehead, which is very reminiscent of Asterin. So we might be seeing some of these characters in different roles in different worlds, just because of that yielding that they did. Not confirmed, but I'm excited to be on the lookout for them potentially while we go back into Akatar. But Irene and Chaol decide to go back. Ansela Briarcliff decides she will share the Western Wastes with Manon and the Krakens as they go back, and she's Manon's like, is that okay? Like, can we do that? Her grandmother's like, well, yes. The good grandmother, the Kraken grandmother's like, yeah, it has to be both the Krakens and the Iron Teeth going back. That's the only way to break the curse. And they brought her a flower from the wastes, which was evidence of, yes, because you guys have worked together now that this is, the curse is broken, that things will grow now. So
yeah, I'm excited. I'm really hoping she goes back. I'm excited.
And Dorian goes to Manon. They don't really have a relationship talk other than they will see each other again. Dorian asks Manon to help with training the wyverns that are left, or the wyverns that are left in the Farian Gap, because he's like, there's just a bunch without riders and I think you could make them be useful. So, and she's like, I guess I could do that. So there's kind of an interesting left openness with them. Another novella I would like to have is just whatever happens with Manon and Dorian, because I think there's so much that could happen with them, because they're the only couple that's just left with we'll see what happens. And then Nezran and Sartak are going to head back to the Cognate, and she's going to be Empress. I also want to know, when does she go and talk to her family that still live in Otterlin? To be like, hey guys, so you know how I was helping with this war? Now I'm gonna be the Empress of the Southern Kingdom. Her father and stuff is still hanging out somewhere with Fleetfoot, by the way.
I was gonna tell you that we don't go where Fleetfoot is, other than
do we get
still
Fleetfoot
alive
at the end of this book?
No.
Fleetfoot's got to come back at some point.
She doesn't. She does it at the end of the other one. What's the one right before this?
Tower of Dawn or Empire Storms?
Tower of Dawn.
I don't remember. Fleetfoot's got to be alive somewhere.
She does it in one of them. Empire Storms or Tower of Dawn, which are basically the same story, just written. She mentions that he's with that Fleetfoot, that she is with somebody and she's happy as a dog.
Okay.
That was the end of that. And then you just, I told you I didn't understand the point of Fleetfoot. You could have just left that fucking dog out. You kind of forget about it. Then he comes back and then you're like, oh yeah, that dog.
It just became a problem because it was Fleetfoot can't die. So now I have to explain where Fleetfoot is. For,
she went to
books.
the, what was it? She went to the farm. Isn't that where you send all your animals? We sent her to the farm, honey.
Oh my God.
We don't know whether she's alive or dead. We sent her to the farm.
So all of the couples kind of have their happy endings, and then Aelin and Rowan are working to rebuild Terrasen as a kingdom. And then when the spring comes, the King's Flame blooms, and that only blooms when there is peace in the kingdom. The last time it had happened was with her uncle right before everything went to crap, and it only bloomed one time. And at the time, Darrow still had that flame, or King's Flame, that was in glass, and he gave it to Evangeline. So that is Kingdom of Ash. And we are officially done with Throne of Glass coverage. What would you rate Kingdom of Ash?
I think I rated this one only a 4. It devastated me, but I didn't. The story's just hard.
Yeah.
The more times we break it down, the more I'm like, I missed some of this. Oh yeah, I remember that. But even if we redid it again, I'd still be like, wow, there's still so much you could miss in this story, no matter how many times you read it.
I think I gave Kingdom of Ash a 5. On the reread, it's definitely not my favorite book out of all of them.
No, it's not my favorite.
Actually, the funny thing was when I did rereads, the books that I gave lower stars to were the ones that I was like, these are my favorite books of the series now. But Kingdom of Ash, I think, is still a 5-star just for the way that she's able to incorporate all of those stories and finally
yes,
climax
I agree.
them.
She does do a lot of POVs that are like, holy shit.
And
but
writing wise, I genuinely am so impressed with how much of this book I spent going, I don't know if anybody's going to be happy by the end of this book because everything bad keeps happening.
no, yeah, that's the hard part about like rating books that you like feel guilty about is that like as like knowing like how hard the writing process is, you're like, this book is amazing. How'd she keep up with all of these things? But I don't know. The story just like it was hard to like she almost could have done another book. Not that I would have wanted her to, but it might have been easier to digest because every time we go through this, like I'm positive that we've read this at least 2 or 3 times.
Yeah.
Every time we go through this book, I'm still like, when did I miss that? Hold on, I missed that. Like no matter how many times I've gone through it, like the details are just too finite to be easily digested. Like you think you're getting it and then you're like, wait.
Well, and there's long books where not a lot happens in them.
Yeah.
This one is like every single page has so much jammed into it. You're just like, oh my God, how can I keep track of all this? So
it just, I think I went to look for like a summary to help me like get this book for this podcast. It was 67 pages. 67 pages. Just for the summary. And I was like, oh my God. And I read this book and I was like, jeez. And one of them I did look at an outline. It was 120 pages. And I was like, isn't that the book? Yeah. Like I was like, how do you summarize a book with another book? Like I was just like, I just need like guidelines. I don't need. Yeah. I was just trying to like get myself prepared for this. Cause this one I still to this day don't think I've digested the whole book. Like no matter how many times I've read it.
No. And I think for me,
I think when we get into like Crescent City and Akatar, I'm going to be like, oh my God, Katie, no matter how many times we read it, like it just does not.
Yeah. And part of it for me, I think, is I enjoy reading through all of these books. I'm excited. So in May, I believe, they're coming out with the first graphic audio for Throne of Glass, and I'm so excited because I would love to read these books with that. Not that Elizabeth Evans doesn't do an amazing job, but these books are so long and arduous that sometimes it's like it would be nice to have like more going on, like I was watching a movie. The thing with Kingdom of Ash, I think it ends the story so well that I'm not like, oh God, but what about this? But what about that?
Yeah,
like
that's
I'm not
true.
Sitting here dying for more. I think Throne of Glass is going to be a God tier series for me for a long time, if not forever, because it is so well written. But Kingdom of Ash wraps everything up in a way that makes me go, okay, I feel okay with the ending of this book, and I don't feel like I have to like.
I agree with you, but it's the characters that you're like, oh my God, did that one live on? Like, did they fall through the other world too? Like, it's hard to like, you know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah, I do have to say I am going to miss Aelin though, and Rowan. Those two, I think out of the SJM, I mean, I think Feyre and Rhysand might be my favorite couple, but I love Aelin and Rowan so much and how well they support
punches
each
her in
other.
the face. That was like literally when Katie was like, oh my God.
I love Rowan.
Yeah.
No, I think in terms of finding a couple that's so well suited for each other, I don't know that you can outmatch Rowan and Aelin. I think Feyre and Rhysand meet each other in a lot of ways, but I think they have, I mean, we see in Silver Flames even as a good example of where they are not the perfect couple. And it's not to say that Rowan and Aelin either, but I think the stakes being so high here and their capability to work so well as partners and as couples and meet each other halfway, I think puts them above for a lot of things. So I am going to miss just Aelin's swagger and all of that, as well as I love Lorcan and Elide. So I'm going to miss those characters, but it's going to be cool to go into the next series.
Yeah, it will be so fun.
Anyways, that is the end of our Throne of Glass coverage. If you're watching this on YouTube, I'm going to throw up a slide so you can see where you can follow us on social media, and we will see you in the next one.